Welcome back, everyone, to Week 8 of Prospect Football Weekly. I'm your host, Jack Ankeny, joined again by Coach Sebastian. Thanks for coming again.
Jack, how are we doing today?
I'm great.
Good.
So, how good did it feel to get a Week 7 win against Wheeling last week?
It always feels good to win the football game, and we've obviously got, I think, better from Week 4 and just kind of how we played in Week 4. We played much better Week 5, Week 6. Obviously, not necessarily getting the result we wanted, but played better, played more consistent. So to finally have that kind of come through Week 7, I think was a big deal. So it was good. We're excited, obviously, to have the victory, and now we're kind of moving on to the next one and trying to develop ourselves a little bit more, grow a little bit more as we get ready for Elk Grove.
Okay. So that was a pretty sloppy game through the rain on both sides, really. How do you think the team dealt with this issue?
I think we actually dealt pretty well with it. For as much as the ball was on the ground in the game, we only actually had one lost fumble, which was the punt return. And I don't know how much of that was the rain as much as that was, I think Michael's fumble probably is the rain, but he recovered it himself. The rest of it is, some of the things we've been dealing with as the year has gone on anyway in terms of some of the botched snaps and things of that nature. So we've got to obviously continue to work to clean that up. But I thought the kids did a pretty good job of handling that. I think obviously our defense took advantage of those situations. We forced 4 turnovers in that game, so that becomes an important thing to have them do that, and it's part of the reason I think they played so well in the grand scheme of things throughout that game. Okay,
so your guys' kicker Anthony Santangelo is pretty big for the team, hitting multiple field goals. How important is it to execute well on special teams?
Oh, it's huge. Our execution in terms of those 2 field goals, especially the 41-yarder that he hit to make it 9-0, provided us with an opportunity to win the football game. We unfortunately had a fumbled punt that gave them short field in their only score. Almost cost ourselves a football game. So, I think people sometimes forget about the third phase of the game and how important that is. You can very easily win or lose a football game playing special teams. And we talk about that fact that there's at least one game in a year that you're going to either win or lose playing special teams, and I thought our special teams was dramatically important to us being successful on Friday night.
Okay, so the defense really kept Wheeling from getting much going throughout the game. What did they do so well to stop Wheeling?
I think they just played within their scheme. I mean, we only gave up about 135 yards of offense. Most of it was the first 2 plays of the game. They had like 55 yards in the first 2 plays and then didn't move the ball much the rest of the game, except when we gave them the short field at the end. I think they just attacked and were very aggressive. I think Coach Collins, Coach Sebastian, Coach Argentine, Coach Keller put together a great game plan in terms of what they were doing. Coach Collins has become a very solid, very good defensive coordinator for us. He's a young guy who has really shown growth over the last couple of years, and you can see week to week how our defense is dramatically prepared to go play a football game, and what he's doing with the kids, and the kids buy in and believe in the system, and they attack. And when you have guys like Michael, Brennan Keene, Adam Mecke, who's done a great job as a sophomore here playing linebacker, and some of the things that we're doing with the D-line, being aggressive, we've been able to be very successful in terms of, playing solid defense. I think last week was nice because it was finally, after a couple weeks of playing okay defense, even though we put our defense in bad positions, we were still giving up some points. We finally kind of put the foot in the ground and said, okay, it's got to stop here, and they did it.
Okay. What part of the game do you point out as maybe the turning point that helped you guys win?
I don't know that there's a turning point in that game. I think we controlled a lot of the game. We had the ball for 31 minutes of that football game. I think early having the 2 long drives helps. I think I don't know if there's a turning point. I think the moment of issue for us was, after, we give up the punt return, fumble, they quickly go down and score, and there's 5 minutes left in the football game. We leave ourselves out with a little bit of danger. We don't, we unfortunately have a penalty on 3rd down at the wrong time and give the ball right back to them. I think our defense stepped up and showed that, they weren't going to drive the ball down the field on us, create the turnover to get us the ball back, and then, I think Liam Mikes, has a huge trap on second down that allows Michael to get about 6 or 7 yards, puts us in a third and short. And we get the third and short, we burn the clock out, and we go home. So there's a turning point. I think there was a moment of adversity late in that game where we could have, very similar to what happened with Schaumburg, kind of given in, and to show a little bit of the growth and maturity of a lot of our young kids who are now 6 more weeks experienced. We didn't. We continued to battle and fight, and they found a way to come through. And that's a testament to our kids and how they continue to play that football game.
Okay. What kind of momentum does this win give the team for the final 2 games of the year?
Well, it's a lot better than losing. You don't really have a situation where you're coming back and going, okay, we got to correct this. We come back and say, okay, we got to correct this, and this, but you won, so it's not as painful of an experience. It's a lot better to get yelled at in film after you win than when you lose. When you lose, you're like, oh, jeez, I'm getting yelled at. Hey, after you win, you're like, oh, I'm getting yelled at, but we won. So, and they really didn't get yelled at much in film this week because, I gave them the morning off and had them just come in for their yoga stuff. So, they kind of got out of the film. They were kind of happy about that. Sometimes rest is the most important thing. But it's just good momentum for where we're going, and what we want to try to do in the last 3 weeks. We talked about the fact that can't control what's happened the first 6. You got 1/3 of your season left. You'd like to be, 3-0 in the last 30 of your season. Well, we took one step to doing that. Now we've got to take another one this week.
Okay. Thank you, Coach Sebastian. And next up on Prospect Football Weekly, brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings, Willie Nelson.
Welcome back to Prospect Football Weekly, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings in Mount Prospect. I'm here with defensive back Willie Nelson. Willie, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
What kind of preparation goes into the scout team each week?
Well, you got to look at the film and you got to sort of know how they run their team and where they line up and what the players' tendencies are, so you can mimic that in practice.
Absolutely. How important is it for the scout team to mimic the other team as best as possible?
It's really important because if you don't give them a good look, then they're going to be surprised by what they see on the field, and then they have to adjust to that as well as everything else that the team game planning is.
What do you try to do to prepare the starters for Friday night?
Well, you have to try to go full speed in practice and give a full effort, because if you don't go full speed, then they're not going to get an accurate look at what it's going to be like on Friday night.
In your final year playing prospect football, what kind of impact are you trying to make on this program?
Well, I'm just trying to leave the legacy that you can still go hard in scout team and earn respect, because when people only are on scout team, they kind of think that that's the end of the road for them, and then they kind of lose hope in playing football.
What will you remember most about playing prospect football?
It's not going to be the games. It's definitely going to be the summer practices and just getting to know the team and everything like that.
Absolutely. That's all we have for Willie Nelson. Stay tuned for a special interview with Coach Stokes.
And welcome back, everyone, to Prospect Football Weekly, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings in Mount Prospect. I'm here with varsity boys cross-country coach, Mr. Mike Stokes. Coach, welcome.
Thank you.
What meets have really stood out to you most from this boys cross-country team this year?
The Peoria invite was probably our best meet of the year.
What is it like having a national champion as an assistant coach on your staff?
Oh, it's great. Him and I had the same high school coach. We have a lot of the same philosophies, but he brings a lot to the table so far as racing strategies and just the little incidentals that people don't think matter, but they really do.
What runners have been leading the team this year?
Jack Terry's our, he's just our leader of our team, but Nate Cozine, Casey Delight, Noah Hellstrom, Jack Hempelman, all the seniors have stepped up this year, and I think they're going to in the postseason.
How is this team preparing for the postseason matches coming up?
We're doing what we always do. And we call it this phase the sharpening phase because we're honing it and getting ready for the big races.
What teams do you think are going to be the Knights' biggest competition this postseason?
Well, Hersey on Saturday at the conference meet, and then there's Barrington and Fremd as well.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck in the postseason meets, and stay tuned for Week 8 preview with Coach Sebastian against Elk Grove.
Welcome back, everyone, to Week 8 of Prospect Football Weekly, brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings in Mount Prospect. Coach Sebastian is back to preview the Elk Grove game. Thanks for coming back, Coach.
No problem. That's what my contract says I have to do anyway.
All right. So, though Elk Grove comes in winless, what strengths of the team do you think the Knights will have to stop in order to win the game?
I think Elk Grove's a very solid, well-coached football program. They're young. They're trying to turn around a period of fertility that they've had the last few years. I think they have a staff that's, understands the long game of what they're trying to do here. I think you have to look just at how they've played to understand that record is not indicative of the type of kid and the type of team that they are. Played strong with Barrington for 3 quarters. We're talking about an undefeated team, and they were, it was 28-21 in the third. You're talking about a game where they were up on Niles North on 2 scores and gave up like a 94-yard touchdown screen pass with a minute to go to lose. So, they've been in ball games. They've played hard. They've got a nice set of skill kids. Their running back's a pretty good kid. They have a young quarterback who I think is a pretty decent talent. I know they have an older kid too who's done some nice things, so they kind of rotate the 2 kids in and out. I think defensively they play aggressive, attacking defense, which you really like to see. So there's a lot to this team that I think there's to build on and grow. So it's going to be one of those situations where, they obviously have a lot of what they need to do. I think the biggest thing we've tried to focus on this week is the fact that, look, we've still got a lot of youth within what we're doing. We've still got to get better and really try to keep our focus on what we're trying to accomplish this week.
Okay. What kind of added motivation does the fact that prospect former quarterback Miles Osei is their coach?
I think for our kids, nothing. Let's be realistic. Most of our kids, when Miles is playing quarterback here, are like 7. They know the legend of Miles because we've built it up, and it's legitimate because Miles is that good as a quarterback. But they don't remember Miles playing. This is kind of cool for someone like myself, for Coach Beischer, Coach Whalen, Coach Collins. Guys who know Miles. Guys who coached him like I did when he was a freshman on our varsity playoff team in 06, playing special teams for me. That part's kind of fun. And you've seen Miles growing up, at this point. Miles, to see him get married a year and a half ago to his wife Susie, to see how he's grown from a 14-year-old freshman to now this 25-year-old adult. And just the type of character he is has been fun, I think, for us. For us as a staff, it's cool because it's, Miles and it's Mike Camadula, who, I have spent many years coaching with. Mike is our former defensive coordinator. It's Samir Chaudhary, who played on our first team in 1999 and helped to kind of set the tone of what we were trying to do as a program 19 years ago when we first started together as a staff. It's getting to, Steve Lesniak, who played in our 01 state title team as a starting safety. That's kind of cool for us as staffs that we get to kind of, see people who we're friends with and coach against each other. And it's not like there's many secrets. We know what they do. They know what we do. It's kind of like, hey, how are you? And we've seen this before from both sides. But, I think for the kids on both sides, it's not that big of a deal. Because, again, they just haven't, They don't look at it that way. They're more worried about, playing their buddy that's on the other sideline, not so much who the coach is, because they're not playing the coach. No one's playing me. I'm not playing them. This is about the kids more than anything else. So I think it's cool for the staffs, but at the end of the day, I think for the kids, there's no real motivation to it. They're just worried about playing a football game.
Yeah. So in the team's last home game of the season, what will it take for the defense to repeat a strong defensive effort as last week?
Well, I think continuing just to buy into the game plan that Coach Collins and the staff are putting together for him, making sure that they understand what they're trying to do as a team, fit within their part of the scheme, and if they do that, I think the defense continues to grow and get better. I think what we have to do too offensively is, while we've struggled at times gaining yards, things of that nature, one of the things we've done too the last few weeks is keep people off the field, controlling the clock a little bit. I think that helps our defense too, if we can continue to do that and maybe move the ball a little bit more. as well as the defense obviously continue to get people to go 3 and out. I think that will be helpful for us going down the road here.
Okay. So Michael Chavis has kind of been your guys' leader throughout the whole year, but he's really played well in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think. How important will it be to get him the ball on offense and then also defense?
Oh, I think we've got to continue to find a way to get him the ball on offense. We've talked a lot about that, trying to feed him a little bit more the last few weeks. Michael's done a nice job. I think it's imperative for our line to continue to grow to help him with that. Continue to be able to kind of, have them open up holes for him. Defensively, I think him, Brennan, Mekki, Sema, those guys that we have at our linebacking core need to continue to, kind of play downhill like they've been doing all year. And I think if they can do that, a lot of what we do allows Michael, some freedom in terms of what he's trying to do, and what Brennan and Adam especially, but what Michael Sema does in terms of a lot of the attacking aspect of our defense is dramatically important for a guy like Chavis to be able to accomplish what he needs to do on defense. So I think, Michael's a key component of what we are doing on both sides of the ball. We've just got to continue to find ways to complement that as well in offense so that people can't just key on him. We have to get better in the passing game this week to try to help as well.
Yeah. How do you think the 7 sophomores that have contributed for the team have played in recent weeks?
I think they've all done a very nice job. And we've, Zach Zeiss now started for a couple weeks here at safety and done some really nice things there. Adam Mekki has been a major, impact on our defense. And he came and played a little bit of running back this past week as well and had a couple nice runs. Our O-line now is starting 2 sophomores. I think Caleb Smith probably had his best week on the O-line. Sebastian Swistak has a great amount of potential ahead of him. He's just very raw and young, but you can't teach size, and he's got some of that, and he's gotten better as the year's gone on. Adam Ryerson didn't play as much this past week, but he's been vital to us growing. In general, he played he's usually a quarterback, but played receiver for us, in varsity games a couple times. He played scout team quarterback this past week, mimicking Wheeling. And to be very frank with you, I thought he played better running their offense than their quarterback, ran the offense. I thought Adam did a fantastic job and got us prepared for what that kid was doing because he's pretty good as a quarterback, and I thought Adam did a great job of getting them ready. And a kid like Matt Neal obviously has gotten better. We had a lot of sophomores bouncing around. Jack Friedrich's continuing to, kind of get work. We've lost 2 with Brian Doherty and Ryan Traviola to season-ending injuries. And we've had a lot of kids that have had to step forward. So it's, again, a continual growth process, I think, for each of those guys. But they've all contributed. Otherwise, you wouldn't probably see us having them play on the field, or they wouldn't be ready. They've shown that they're ready.
Okay. So, though the team is out of playoff contention, how will they use these last 2 games to build for the future?
I think by focusing on, like I talked about, in one of the earlier segments, the idea of the final third of the season. What are you break into the third segments. What are we doing in this third? And really trying to focus on the games we can win in front of us. We play this game technically for like a traveling trophy. I know that no one ever really knows that this exists, but about 27 years ago, 1990, they instituted what is known as the Glee Wishnaki Trophy, which is just it's a football helmet with both sides, both teams, named after 2 well-known coaches. Joe Gleewo coached here at Prospect High School. Don Schnacke was a legendary coach at Elk Grove High School. They instituted it in 1990. So we've played for this thing for a long time. We haven't really talked about it much because it's just not as as big a thing, but it's now been around for almost 3 decades. So we've talked a little bit about the fact that, look, this is an opportunity to understand that you currently control that trophy. Is how important is it for you to hold on to something? When you have something in your possession, are you willing to hold on to it or give it away? Is it about the trophy itself? No, it's a simple piece of plastic, and there's some wood to it, but it's about protecting something that you have ownership of, and what will you do to protect what you own? And I think just teaching that skill, that's something we've got to get back to learning, is the idea of protecting what is ours and defending what is ours. So in that sense, it becomes important, to use what happened last week to get better for this week, because eventually you'd like to be able to try to be protecting a spot, or trying to earn a spot for a playoff opportunity down the road, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. So part of that's by taking the baby steps and learning how to do it with a young group of guys, how to defend something that you currently control. So that's kind of, I think, the goal for this week. And then, whatever happens after that is, the next week is, we'll worry about that next week.
Okay. Thank you, Coach Sebastian. That should do it for Week 8 of Prospect Football Weekly, brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings in Mount Prospect. We'll see you next week.